Alex Winters shifted in his seat as 30 pairs of alien eyes turned toward him. The classroom fell silent. Even the soft hum of the air recyclers seemed to pause. Professor Zixtal had just finished explaining the concept of natural disasters across various worlds when he turned his six-eyed gaze toward the only human in the class. Perhaps our Terran colleague would like to share some examples of what constitutes a natural disaster on Earth, the professor suggested. Alex noticed how his classmates leaned away from him, their bodies shifting in anticipation of yet another horrifying Earth story. By now, Alex was used to this reaction. After 3 months at Central Galactic University, he had become something of an unintentional celebrity. The strange, durable creature from a planet classified as a Class 12 Deathworld. "Sure, Professor," Alex said with a smile. "Earth has many types of natural disasters. Which would you like to hear about first? Hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, wildfires?" A collective gasp went through the room. Mlyrix, a gelatinous blob-like student from the peaceful ocean world of Aquara, visibly rippled with anxiety. Professor Zixtal blinked his 6 eyes in sequence. "Perhaps start with just one example, Mr. Winters. We have limited time today." "All right. Let's talk about hurricanes," Alex said, pulling up images on his datapad and sending them to the class display. A massive, swirling storm appeared above their heads, cloud formations spinning around a calm center. These are tropical storms, with wind speeds over 74 miles per hour. That's about 119 of your standard galactic units. The strongest hurricanes can have winds over 180 miles per hour. "And these destroy your habitats?" asked Vrel, an insectoid student with delicate, translucent wings that trembled slightly. "Sometimes, yes. They can damage buildings, flood cities, and cause power outages that last for weeks," Alex explained. "But we have warning systems and evacuation procedures. Most people survive." "Most people," squeaked Nishra, a small, furry creature from a world without weather variations. "You mean some don't?" Alex nodded, not realizing how casual he appeared when discussing potential death. "Well, yes. People who don't evacuate or get caught in flash floods can die. Hurricane Katrina killed nearly 1,800 people in 2005. The entire left side of the classroom shifted 2 feet further away from him. "But that was one of the worst in recent history," Alex added quickly. "We've gotten better at predicting them and preparing." Professor Zixtal cleared his throat, a sound like rocks tumbling down a hill. "Perhaps another example, Mr. Winters? Something less lethal?" "Well, there are earthquakes," Alex said cheerfully, changing the display to show fault lines and tectonic plates. Earth's crust is broken into pieces that float on molten rock. These pieces sometimes crash into each other or pull apart, making the ground shake. Buildings can collapse, roads crack open, and sometimes the shaking causes tsunamis, giant ocean waves that can be hundreds of feet tall. The classroom was dead silent. A blue-skinned student named Orla had turned a pale shade of gray. "But we have building codes now," Alex hurried to add. "Most modern structures are earthquake-resistant. Your dwellings need to resist the planet. Trying to kill you?" asked Dars, a rock-like student from a geologically dead world. "Well, when you put it that way, I guess so," Alex admitted. "But earthquakes usually only happen in specific regions along fault lines." Professor Zixtal's upper limbs twitched nervously. "Perhaps one final example, Mr. Winters?" "Volcanoes are pretty interesting," Alex said, displaying images of Mount St. Helens erupting. "These are mountains that occasionally explode, shooting molten rock miles into the air. The ash can block out the sun for days, and the lava flows can reach temperatures of over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. At this, one student, a plant-based being named Fotis, who relied on constant light, curled its leaf-like appendages and fell into a defensive, wilting posture. "And humans live near these erupting mountains?" Professor Zixtal asked, his professional composure slipping. "Oh, definitely. Some of our most populated cities are built right next to active volcanoes. Naples in Italy, Tokyo in Japan, Seattle in the United States, all near volcanoes that could erupt someday. Tlickson, A binary, gas-based student who usually floated near the ceiling sank to the floor in shock. "But we monitor them closely," Alex said. "We can usually predict eruptions before they happen, though not always." "And what do humans do during these natural disasters?" asked Vrel, whose wings had completely stopped moving. "We adapt," Alex said simply. "We build shelters, we create warning systems, we develop rescue services. After disasters, we rebuild, usually making things stronger than before. Some people even storm chase. They follow tornadoes and hurricanes to study them up close or just for the thrill." "For the thrill?" Professor Zixtal repeated slowly, as if he'd misheard. "Yeah, the excitement, the adrenaline rush," Alex explained, not understanding the wave of horror passing through the room. "There are people who climb active volcanoes, too, to look inside the craters." At this point, 2 students quietly slipped into defensive catatonic states, their bodies rigid and unresponsive. A 3rd student hurriedly tapped on his medical alert bracelet. Professor Zixtal raised all 6 limbs. "I think that's quite enough about Earth's natural phenomena for today. Thank you, Mr. Winters, for that illuminating presentation." The classroom's ambient lighting had automatically dimmed in response to the collective anxiety of the students. The professor quickly moved to the next topic, but few students were paying attention. Most were staring at Alex with a mixture of horror, disbelief, and newfound respect. After class, as Alex gathered his things, Professor Zixtal approached him. "Mr. Winters, while I appreciate your enthusiasm for sharing Earth's environmental conditions, perhaps we could have a brief discussion about appropriate content warnings before your next presentation?" Alex looked confused. "Was it something I said?" The professor's 6 eyes blinked in sequence again, a sign of stress. "Mr. Winters, you just casually described multiple extinction-level events as if discussing weather patterns." "But they are weather patterns," Alex said. "At least the hurricanes are. For most species in this class, a single hurricane, as you described, would end their entire civilization," Professor Zixtal explained gently. "And living near a volcano? No rational species would do such a thing." Alex scratched his head. "Wow, I guess I never thought about it that way. So what would be appropriate to discuss next time?" The professor appeared to consider this carefully. "Perhaps something less immediately lethal? Your planet's wildlife, perhaps?" Alex brightened. "Oh, great idea. I could talk about the various predators we have: lions, tigers, sharks, crocodiles. Or maybe parasites would be more interesting. There are these wasps that lay eggs inside living caterpillars so their larvae can eat them from the inside out." Professor Zixtal's blue skin paled to a light cerulean. "On second thought, perhaps we should schedule a private meeting to discuss suitable topics before your next presentation." Alex nodded, completely missing the professor's distress. "Sure thing. I have so many cool Earth facts to share." As he walked out of the classroom, Alex noticed the other students giving him an even wider berth than usual. He shrugged it off. They'd get used to him eventually. Maybe his stories about Earth's weather patterns had been a bit much. Next time he'd stick to something simple and non-threatening, like the time his family had gone camping and encountered a family of bears. Simple wildlife stories couldn't possibly scare anyone, right? The university cafeteria buzzed with activity as students from across the galaxy ate their midday meals. Alex Winters sat at a corner table with his small group of alien friends, the only ones brave enough to regularly spend time with the human. "So, what do you all think about going camping this weekend?" Alex asked, taking a bite of his synthetic protein bar. Earth food was hard to come by in this sector of the galaxy, but the university nutritionists had created passable substitutes. Kira, a bioluminescent lumidarian whose skin pulsed with soft blue light, tilted her head. "Camping? You mean sleeping outdoors voluntarily?" "Yeah, it'll be fun," Alex said. "The ecological preserve has some amazing areas set aside for students. We could book one of the camping pods for Friday night." Dorn, who resembled a walking boulder with limbs made of jointed stone, rumbled thoughtfully. "What exactly does human camping involve?" "Nothing complicated," Alex said. We set up shelter, build a fire, cook food outdoors, tell stories, look at the stars. It's relaxing. Just like camping back on Earth, but without the danger of bear attacks. His three friends froze. Bear attacks? Valara asked, her delicate wings fluttering nervously. The small winged Sylphian looked like she might fly away at any moment. What is a bear? Alex pulled out his datapad and showed them images of Earth bears. They're large predatory mammals. This one's a grizzly bear. They can stand over 7 feet tall and weigh up to 2,500 pounds. They're pretty common in wilderness areas on Earth. Dorn's rocky face somehow managed to look concerned. And these creatures attack humans? Sometimes, Alex said casually, if you surprise them or get between a mother and her cubs. But bear attacks are actually pretty rare. You're much more likely to encounter wolves, mountain lions, or venomous snakes when camping. More predators? Kira's bioluminescence flickered with alarm. And you still camp outdoors? For recreation? Alex laughed. Well, yeah, that's part of the adventure. Don't you have wildlife in your worlds? On Lumida, all wildlife is bioluminescent and photosynthetic, Kira explained. Nothing hunts anything else. We absorb light. Sylphia has small herbivores that eat nectar and fruit, Valara added. Our largest predator is the size of your thumb and eats only insects. My world has no biological life, Dorn said. Petrosians evolved from mineral formations. Alex blinked in surprise. Wow. I guess Earth is pretty different. He took another bite of his protein bar. So you're telling me none of your planets have food chains or predator-prey relationships? His friends looked at him blankly. You know, where bigger animals eat smaller animals? Alex pulled up more images on his datapad. Like here. This is a lion taking down a zebra, and here's a shark eating a seal. And this is an eagle catching a fish. Valara's wings began to vibrate so quickly, they became nearly invisible. Your world's creatures consume each other while still alive. That's how nature works on Earth, Alex said with a shrug. Everything either eats or gets eaten. Humans are actually at the top of the food chain now, though that wasn't always the case. You mean other animals used to eat humans? Kira asked, her skin now pulsing with alarmed red light. Oh, sure. Early humans had to worry about all sorts of predators. Big cats, wolves, crocodiles, sharks. Even today people occasionally get eaten, though it's pretty rare. The three aliens stared at him in shocked silence. Wait, Dorn finally said. If humans are now at the top of this food chain, does that mean we eat other animals? Absolutely, Alex said. Most humans are omnivores. We eat plants and animals, though some choose to be vegetarians or vegans. Alex pulled up images of a typical Earth barbecue. This is how we often cook meat when camping. You put animal flesh over fire until it's safe to eat. Valara looked like she might faint. And this is normal on Earth? Completely normal, Alex confirmed. In fact, humans have been eating meat for millions of years. We've even domesticated certain animals specifically for food. Domesticated? Kira asked weakly. Yeah, we breed and raise them, like cows, pigs, chickens. We also domesticated some predators to be our companions. Alex showed them pictures of dogs and cats. These are the most common Earth pets. This one's a German Shepherd dog. They're descended from wolves. And this is a house cat. They're related to lions and tigers. You keep predators in your homes? Dorn's rocky exterior actually cracked slightly from stress. Well, they're domesticated predators, Alex clarified. They're friendly. Well, dogs are friendly. Cats are more selective with their affection. But they're great companions. My family has 2 dogs and a cat back on Earth. The cafeteria had grown quieter as nearby students started listening to Alex's explanation of Earth ecology. A small crowd had gathered around their table. So let me understand this correctly, said a tentacled student from a nearby table. Your planet is filled with creatures that eat each other alive. You keep descended from wolves in your sleeping quarters, and you voluntarily go out into wilderness areas where you might be eaten by bears. Alex considered this. That's pretty accurate, yeah. though modern camping is pretty safe if you take precautions. What kind of precautions? Valara asked. Oh, hang your food in trees so bears don't get it. Make noise while hiking, so you don't surprise predators. Carry bear spray. Know how to identify venomous snakes and poisonous plants. Basic stuff. The crowd of students had grown larger. An academic advisor standing nearby looked concerned at the increasing distress levels among the gathered aliens. But we wouldn't need to worry about any of that here, Alex added quickly. The university's ecological preserve is completely safe. They don't have any large predators. The most dangerous thing there is probably some mild allergens from the flowering plants. Kira, Dorn, and Valara exchanged nervous glances. If we go on this camping trip with you, Dorn rumbled slowly, do you promise not to try to hunt any local wildlife or start fires? Alex laughed. Of course, I'll follow all. Preserve rules. And no dangerous Earth activities, Valara added. Like what? Swimming in unknown waters, climbing tall objects, approaching unfamiliar creatures, Kira listed, her skin now a concerned purple. Those are dangerous Earth activities? Alex asked, confused. The academic advisor finally stepped forward. Mr. Winters, perhaps you could continue this conversation elsewhere? Several students are showing elevated stress responses. Alex looked around and noticed that the gathering crowd did indeed look distressed. Some had changed colors, others were visibly trembling, and a few appeared to be recording his explanation of Earth ecology for later study. Sorry about that, Alex said, standing up. I didn't mean to upset anyone. Earth stuff just seems normal, to me. As they left the cafeteria, Kira's skin settled into a thoughtful blue glow. You know what, Alex? I think I will join you on this camping trip. Your Earth stories are terrifying but also fascinating. Me too, Dorn rumbled. Someone needs to make sure you don't try to climb something dangerous. Valara hesitated, then nodded. I'll come as well, but only because I'm working on a research project about interspecies adaptability. Alex grinned. Great. It'll be fun, I promise. Way more relaxing than that time my family went whitewater rafting and got stuck in Class 4 rapids. What are rapids? Valara asked fearfully. I'll explain later, Alex said, not noticing how his friends exchanged worried glances behind his back. Let's go book a camping pod for the weekend. The massive adaptive gymnasium of Central Galactic University hummed with activity as students prepared for the annual Interspecies Athletics exhibition. The event allowed students from different worlds to showcase physical activities common to their homeworlds. Alex Winters stretched his arms and legs in the preparation area, watching with interest as his classmates demonstrated their species' unique physical capabilities. The Gravians, with their dense body mass, manipulated small, gravity fields around objects. The aquatic Marians performed complex water dances in a floating sphere of liquid. The six-limbed hexapods twisted their bodies into impossible shapes as they moved through elaborate obstacle courses. Terran student Alex Winters, please report to the demonstration area, announced the automated system. Alex jogged to the center of the gymnasium where Professor Galrin, a tall, spindly alien with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors with his emotions, waited. The professor's skin currently displayed a cautious yellow-green. Mr. Winters, please explain what physical activity you will be demonstrating today, Professor Galrin said, his voice amplified for the audience of several hundred students and faculty members. I thought I'd start with some basic human exercises, Alex said. The kind of physical training most humans do regularly. The professor nodded, his skin shifting to a more relaxed blue. Please proceed. Alex began with jumping jacks. His arms and legs moved in coordination as he completed 50 repetitions at a steady pace. He then dropped to the ground and performed 50 push-ups followed by 50 sit-ups. By the time he finished, he was breathing harder but not exhausted. The audience watched in silence. Several students were taking notes, while others whispered to each other. These are basic exercises taught to human children, Alex explained as he stood up. Most human schools have physical education classes where children learn these movements from a young age. Children? Professor Galrin repeated, his skin flickering to a surprised orange. At what age do humans begin this training? Usually, around age 5 or 6, Alex said, though many humans continue similar exercise routines throughout their lives. A murmur ran through the crowd. The idea of teaching children such strenuous physical activity seemed shocking to many. For my next demonstration, Alex continued, I'd like to show some basic parkour movements. Parkour? The professor asked. It's a training discipline where people aim to move from one point to another in the most efficient way possible, adapting to obstacles in their path. Alex jogged toward a section of the gymnasium where various platforms, walls, and rails had been set up. He began moving through the course, vaulting over barriers, climbing walls, and performing precision jumps from one platform to another. He completed the sequence with a roll upon landing from a 10-foot drop. When he returned to the center, the audience was completely silent. This is a recreational activity on Earth? Professor Galron asked, his skin now a deep purple of concern. Yes, it's quite popular, Alex said, barely winded. Though professional parkour athletes do much more complex and dangerous movements than what I just showed. More dangerous? The professor's skin rippled with colors. Oh, definitely. They might jump between tall buildings or climb structures hundreds of feet high without safety equipment. Several gasps echoed through the gymnasium. A student in the front row had to be escorted out, overwhelmed by the concept. For my final demonstration, Alex said, I'd like to show a common human combat sport. Could I use one of the training robots? Professor Galron hesitated, then nodded. A humanoid robot stepped into the demonstration area. This is boxing, Alex explained, wrapping his hands with protective tape. It's one of many fighting sports humans practice. The basic idea is to strike your opponent while avoiding being struck yourself. Alex squared off against the robot, which had been programmed to respond like a boxing opponent. He demonstrated basic punches, jabs, crosses, hooks, and uppercuts, while bobbing and weaving to avoid the robot's return strikes. After 2 minutes of increasingly fast exchanges, Alex signaled for the robot to stop. The audience was frozen in shock. Humans intentionally strike each other? Professor Galron asked, his skin now a distressed red. In controlled settings, yes, Alex said, unwrapping his hands. Boxing has rules to minimize permanent damage, but there are many other combat sports like wrestling, judo, karate, and mixed martial arts. Some have fewer rules and allow more types of strikes. And these are entertainment? The professor asked. Absolutely. Professional boxers can earn millions of dollars for a single fight. Combat sports are some of the oldest human athletic competitions, going back thousands of years. The stunned silence that followed was finally broken by a student raising a tentacle. Yes, Glorm, Professor Galron acknowledged. Do humans engage in these combat activities only for entertainment and training, or is there a practical purpose? Alex thought for a moment. Well, many humans learn combat sports for self-defense. Earth has dangers beyond natural disasters and wildlife. Sometimes the danger comes from other humans. This statement caused another wave of whispers through the crowd. You mean humans fight each other outside of these controlled settings? Another student asked. Unfortunately, yes, Alex admitted. Though most humans are peaceful, conflict does happen. Learning to defend yourself is considered important in many Earth cultures. Professor Galron's skin had stabilized into a worried, amber shade. Mr. Winters, you've shown us 3 physical activities today. Are there any other common Earth physical pursuits you could tell us about? Alex brightened. Oh, tons. There's mountain climbing, where people scale vertical rock faces thousands of feet high. There's free diving, where swimmers go hundreds of feet underwater on a single breath. Extreme sports like base jumping, where people leap from buildings or cliffs with special parachutes. Surfing giant waves, skiing down mountains, marathon running. The list goes on. Each example caused more distress among the audience. A Sylphian student near Valara fainted, overwhelmed by the descriptions. Most of these activities carry some risk, Alex continued, not noticing the reaction. But humans enjoy challenging themselves physically. We call it pushing your limits. The thrill of testing your body's capabilities is very rewarding. Thrill? Professor Galron asked. You mean humans derive pleasure from these potentially harmful activities? Absolutely, Alex said, smiling. The risk is part of the appeal for many. It produces adrenaline, a hormone that creates excitement. Some humans become addicted to that feeling and seek increasingly dangerous challenges. The professor's skin cycled through several colors before settling on a professional blue. Thank you, Mr. Winters, for this informative demonstration of human physical activities. This concludes today's presentation. As Alex walked back to the preparation area, he noticed how the other students gave him an even wider berth than usual. He wondered why they seemed so impressed. He hadn't even demonstrated anything particularly difficult by human standards. Kira met him at the edge of the gymnasium, her skin pulsing with fascinated purple light. That was amazing, she said. Did you see how everyone reacted? Professor Galrin's skin colors changed faster than I've ever seen before. Was it really that impressive? Alex asked, grabbing his water bottle. Alex, Kira said seriously, most species here evolved to avoid unnecessary physical risks. The concept of intentionally putting yourself in danger for entertainment is completely foreign. You just demonstrated activities that would be considered suicidal on most worlds. Huh, Alex said, taking a drink. I guess I didn't think about it that way. Wait until they hear about the time I went rock climbing without a safety harness. Now that was exciting. Kira's skin flashed a warning red. Maybe keep that story to yourself for now. I think the university has reached its quota of stress-related medical incidents for one day. Alex laughed and headed for the showers, already wondering what Earth activities he could share next time. Maybe he'd tell them about his family's whitewater rafting trip after all. Alex sat in the front row of the Galactic history class, reviewing his presentation on his datapad. For their assignment, each student had to share an important historical development from their homeworld. While most of his classmates had chosen to discuss technological breakthroughs or peaceful political transitions, Alex had decided on something different: the history of human medicine. Professor Thun Va, a tall, willowy alien with translucent skin through which complex patterns of light constantly flowed, called the class to order. Today we continue with our historical presentations. Next up is Terran student Alex Winters, who will discuss a significant development from Earth history. Alex walked to the front of the classroom, connected his datapad to the holographic projector, and smiled at his classmates. Today I'm going to talk about the development of human medicine, specifically surgery, which has saved billions of human lives throughout our history. He activated the first holographic image showing ancient Egyptian medical papyri with drawings of surgical procedures. Humans have been practicing medicine for thousands of years. These early medical texts from ancient Egypt, dating back to around 1600 BCE, show some of the first documented surgical procedures. The class watched with interest. So far, this seemed like a normal presentation. Early humans discovered that sometimes to heal the body you had to cut it open first, Alex explained, moving to the next image that showed primitive surgical tools. A low murmur ran through the classroom. This practice is called surgery, the physical intervention into the human body to diagnose or treat medical conditions. Early surgeries were quite basic and often dangerous due to three main problems: pain, bleeding, and infection. Alex advanced to the next slide, which showed a medieval surgical scene. For most of human history, patients were fully conscious during surgery. They would be held down by assistants or strapped to tables while the surgeon worked. The class grew very quiet. Several students shifted uncomfortably in their seats. To help with pain, patients might be given alcohol or bite on leather straps, Alex continued casually. In some cultures, patients would chew on plant-based natural painkillers, but mostly they just had to endure the pain. Professor Thun Va's internal light patterns flickered with concern. Mr. Winters, are you saying humans performed invasive procedures on conscious patients? Yes, for thousands of years, Alex confirmed. Modern anesthesia wasn't developed until the mid-1800s. Before, that speed was crucial. The faster the surgeon could work, the better the patient's chances. He advanced to a slide showing a historical painting of a surgical amphitheater. Some famous surgeons could amputate a limb in under 30 seconds. They were celebrated for their speed and precision. A student in the back row made a distressed chirping sound and had to be helped from the room by classmates. Amputate a limb? Asked a gelatinous student near the front. Yes, that's when we surgically remove a body part, usually due to injury or disease, Alex explained, showing another image. Before modern medicine, it was often the only way to prevent death from gangrene or other infections. Professor Thunva's light patterns were now pulsing rapidly. Perhaps we should move on to later developments in human medicine. Of course, Alex said. The 19th century brought three major innovations that revolutionized surgery: anesthesia, antiseptic methods, and blood transfusions. He displayed images of early anesthesia masks, antiseptic sprays, and blood transfusion equipment. Anesthesia allowed patients to be unconscious during procedures. Antiseptic practices reduced infections, and blood transfusions replaced blood lost during surgery. Blood transfusions? Asked a crystalline student, their facets dimming in distress. Yes, humans can transfer blood from one person to another, Alex said. We have different blood types that must be matched correctly, but this practice saves countless lives.
Many humans regularly donate blood to help others. This explanation caused another wave of murmurs through the classroom. You voluntarily give your bodily fluids to other humans? Professor Thunva asked, clearly trying to maintain a professional
tone despite her obvious shock. Absolutely. Many humans donate blood regularly. Some also choose to be organ donors, Alex said, advancing to his next slide showing a modern operating room. Organ donors? A student asked weakly. Yes, humans can survive with just one kidney, so some people donate a kidney to someone in need. After death, many humans allow their viable organs to be harvested to save others. Some carry special cards indicating their willingness to have their parts used after death. At this point, several more students had to leave the classroom. Professor Thunva's internal lights had slowed to a concerned pulse. Mr. Winters, the professor said carefully, perhaps we could focus on less invasive medical practices? Oh, sure, Alex said, slightly confused by the reaction but willing to adjust. Modern medicine has many non-surgical treatments too, like pharmaceuticals. He displayed images of pills, capsules, and injection devices. These are medications humans take to fight diseases. Some are swallowed, others are injected directly into the bloodstream. You puncture your protective outer layer intentionally? Asked a student with a hard exoskeleton. Well, yes. Injections deliver medicine directly into the bloodstream. It's very efficient, Alex explained. We even have preventative injections called vaccines that help our immune systems recognize and fight diseases before we get sick. Alex noticed that the remaining students looked increasingly uncomfortable. Some were taking rapid notes while others sat frozen in what appeared to be shock. To wrap up, he said, sensing he should finish quickly, modern human medicine continues to advance. We now have minimally invasive surgical techniques, robotic surgery, artificial organs, and even experimental nanomedicine. He showed his final slide, featuring a timeline of medical advances. The history of human medicine shows our species' determination to overcome our biological limitations. Through observation, experimentation, and sometimes trial and error, we've developed ways to repair our bodies when they break down. Today, conditions that would have meant certain death just a century ago are often completely treatable. When Alex finished, the classroom remained silent. Professor Thunva's internal lights had stabilized into a slow, thoughtful pattern. Thank you, Mr. Winters, for that illuminating presentation on human medical history, she said finally. Are there any questions for our Terran colleague? One brave student raised a limb. Is it true that humans sometimes voluntarily replace functioning body parts with artificial ones? Yes, sometimes, Alex confirmed. Joint replacements are common for knees, hips, and shoulders when the original joint wears out. Some people choose mechanical heart valves over biological ones because they last longer, and prosthetic limbs are becoming so advanced that some amputees now have better functionality with their artificial limbs than they had with their original ones. The student lowered their limbs slowly, apparently regretting having asked. After class, Professor Thunva asked Alex to stay behind. "Mr. Winters, while your presentation was certainly educational, I must say it caused considerable distress among your classmates." "I'm sorry, Professor," Alex said, genuinely confused. "I tried to stick to basic medical history. I didn't even get into some of the more extreme procedures like brain surgery or heart transplants." The professor's internal lights flickered briefly. "Perhaps that was for the best. I notice you've been causing quite a stir in several of your classes with your Earth perspectives." Alex nodded. "I'm trying to share my culture, but I keep surprising everyone. I guess Earth is more different than I realized." "Indeed," the professor said. "Most species evolved to avoid pain and physical harm. The idea of deliberately cutting open a body, even to heal it, is disturbing to many." "But how do other species treat injuries and diseases?" Alex asked. "Most developed pharmaceutical, regenerative or energy-based treatments that don't require physical invasion of the body," Professor Thunva explained. "The concept of surgery as you described it is quite unique to Earth and a few other Deathworlds." Alex considered this. "I think I understand better now. I'll try to be more careful in my next presentation." As he walked out of the classroom, he wondered what topic would be safe to discuss. Maybe Earth art would be less shocking. Then again, given how much of human art depicted violence, suffering, and death, perhaps that wasn't the best choice either. He decided to ask his alien friends for advice. Surely there had to be some aspect of human culture that wouldn't terrify his classmates. The university's main atrium buzzed with activity as students and faculty prepared for the annual Cultural Exchange Festival. Booths representing hundreds of worlds lined the massive space, each decorated with artifacts, images, and information about their respective cultures. Alex spent the entire morning setting up the Earth booth. After his previous experiences, he had carefully chosen what he thought were the most peaceful and least threatening aspects of human culture to display: art, music, literature, and cuisine. "This looks wonderful, Alex," said Kira as she approached his booth. Her skin glowed a gentle blue of approval. "I see you've gone with a safer approach this time." "I thought it would be best," Alex admitted, hanging a reproduction of Van Gogh's Starry Night on the display board. "No natural disasters, predators, extreme sports, or medical procedures." Dorn lumbered up to examine the booth. "Your Earth art is visually appealing. These are just pigments on flat surfaces." "Mostly, yes," Alex said, "though we have many art forms: sculptures, digital art, performance art, architecture." Valara fluttered over to join them, her delicate wings catching the light. "What are these small objects?" she asked, pointing to a display of miniature musical instruments. "Those are models of Earth musical instruments," Alex explained. "We create music by manipulating sound waves through various means: strumming, strings, blowing air through tubes hitting surfaces." A small crowd of curious students had begun to gather around the Earth booth. Alex felt relieved as they showed interest without the usual fear or horror. Perhaps he had finally found aspects of human culture that wouldn't shock his alien classmates. A tall insectoid student raised an appendage. "What are those images on that wall?" "They appear to be humans in decorative coverings." "Those are traditional costumes from various Earth cultures," Alex explained. "Humans celebrate many different holidays and festivals throughout the year." "What kind of celebrations do humans have?" asked another student, a spherical being who floated slightly above the ground. "Oh, all kinds," Alex said enthusiastically. "We celebrate seasonal changes, historical events, religious occasions. For example, many Earth cultures celebrate the New Year, harvest times, or Independence Days." "Could you describe a specific Earth celebration?" the floating student pressed. Alex considered for a moment, wanting to choose something universal and non-threatening. "Well, there's Halloween. It's celebrated in many countries on October 31st. People, especially children, dress up in costumes, often as monsters or scary figures." "Monsters?" a student asked. "Why would humans pretend to be frightening creatures?" "It's fun," Alex said with a shrug. "Halloween is all about embracing spooky things in a safe way. Children go door to door saying trick or treat and receive candy. People decorate their homes with fake skeletons, cobwebs, and carved pumpkins with lights inside called jack-o'-lanterns. The crowd had grown larger, and Alex could see curiosity in their various facial expressions and body postures. So humans deliberately seek out fear as entertainment? Asked a reptilian student. Yes, exactly, Alex said, not noticing Kira's warning glow. Fear can be enjoyable in the right context. That's why we have haunted houses, buildings designed to scare people who walk through them. Actors dress up as monsters or killers and jump out at visitors. A murmur ran through the crowd. People pay money to be frightened? Someone asked. Absolutely, Alex confirmed. Fear triggers adrenaline, which can be exciting when you know you're actually safe. The same principle applies to horror movies. Films, specifically designed to terrify the audience. The crowd had grown even larger, and Alex noticed some university staff members at the edges watching with concern. Horror movies? Asked a small, furry student. What are those about? All sorts of scary scenarios, Alex explained, warming to his topic. Some feature monsters or supernatural threats like ghosts. Others show natural disasters or outbreaks of deadly diseases. Some of the most popular ones feature human killers who hunt down other humans. Several students backed away from the booth. Humans watch dramatizations of other humans being killed. For entertainment? Asked the reptilian student, scales flaring in distress. It's just pretend, Alex assured them. Nobody actually gets hurt. It's like a simulation of danger without real risk. But why? Asked another student. The same reason we enjoy roller coasters and other thrill rides, Alex said. They're machines designed to simulate falling or crashing while keeping riders safe. Your body feels like it's in danger, but your mind knows you're secure, creating an exciting contrast. Kira's skin had shifted to an alarmed orange. Alex, she whispered, maybe you should change the subject. But the questions kept coming, and Alex continued explaining various ways humans deliberately sought out fear and danger for entertainment. Extreme sports, spicy foods that caused pain, scary stories told around campfires, even games where people chased and caught each other. It's really about controlled risk, Alex explained to the now massive crowd. Humans are constantly balancing safety and danger. We evolved as both predator and prey, so we're wired to be alert to threats while also being curious enough to explore. Entertainment that scares us helps satisfy both instincts. Chancellor Noor Epp, the university's head administrator, a tall being with crystalline features that refracted light in complex patterns, finally approached the booth. Mr. Winters, the chancellor said, your booth has drawn quite a crowd. Perhaps a more structured presentation would be appropriate? Of course, Alex agreed, not realizing he'd caused a stir. 10 minutes later, Alex found himself in the university's main auditorium, facing hundreds of students and faculty members. Chancellor Noor Epp introduced him as a unique cultural representative from a Class 12 Deathworld. Thank you for your interest in Earth culture, Alex began. I'd like to explain more about how humans use fear and danger as forms of entertainment and growth. For the next 30 minutes, Alex described various human activities that involved controlled risk: rock climbing, cave exploration, skydiving, big wave surfing, mixed martial arts competitions, hot pepper eating contests, horror movie marathons, and wilderness survival challenges. He explained how human children played games of chase, hide and seek, and mock combat as practice for adult survival skills. He described how teenage rites of passage often involved facing fears or taking risks to prove readiness for adulthood. Throughout his presentation, the auditorium remained completely silent, except for occasional gasps or murmurs. When Alex finally finished, Chancellor Noor Epp's crystalline features had shifted into a pattern indicating deep thought. Mr. Winters, the Chancellor said, your presentation has been most enlightening. I believe I speak for everyone when I say we now better understand why Earth has been classified as a death world, not only because of its natural dangers but because of its inhabitants' relationship with danger itself. The audience broke into something like applause, a variety of species-specific signs of approval. Several professors approached Alex afterward, asking if he would consider giving guest lectures in xenobiology, evolutionary psychology, and cultural studies classes. As the festival wound down, Alex rejoined his friends at his booth. "I think that went well," he said, helping to pack up the displays. Everyone seemed really interested in Earth culture. "Interested is one word for it," Valara said, her wings fluttering nervously. "Horrified but fascinated might be more accurate." "Did I say something wrong?" Alex asked. "Not wrong," Dorn rumbled. "Just very human. Most species evolve to avoid danger at all costs. Humans seem to have evolved to seek it out in controlled doses." Kira's skin glowed a thoughtful purple. "The xenobiology department has already contacted me about studying you more thoroughly, Alex. You've become the university's most valuable research subject on Deathworld adaptation." Alex laughed. "All I did was talk about normal Earth stuff." "That's exactly the point," Kira said. "What's normal for you is extraordinary for everyone else." As they finished packing, a university staff member approached with an official-looking document. "Mr. Winters, Chancellor Norep, has approved a special position for you as a cultural ambassador and research subject. The Xenoanthropology Department would like you to give weekly talks about Earth customs and biology." Alex accepted the document with surprise. "Wow, that's great. I have so many Earth topics I could cover. Maybe next week I could talk about how I volunteered as a firefighter last summer. We ran into burning buildings to save people." The staff member's multiple eyes blinked rapidly. "I will inform the medical team to be on standby for your presentation." As the staff member hurried away, Alex turned to his friends with a grin. "I think I'm finally fitting in here." His three alien friends exchanged knowing looks. Valara sighed, her wings drooping slightly. "Should we tell him about the new university? Policy requiring all his future presentations to include stress warnings and trauma counselors on standby?" she whispered to Kira. "Let him enjoy the moment," Kira responded, her skin glowing a warm pink of affection. "Besides, the universe needs to learn about humans eventually. They might as well learn from Alex." As they left the festival hall, Alex chatted excitedly about all the Earth topics he could cover in future talks, completely unaware that he had become both the most fascinating and most terrifying student in the